Hello, I am Naughty Zoot, and today I'm going to teach you how to make something extra awesome. I'm going to teach you how to make a teeny tiny pizza. Pay attention to this. This is a ball of conditioned red Sculpey. Okay? So, you have this, and this is your translucent. You always want to have translucent clay on hand because it adds a more lifelike, dimensional quality to your work. So you break off a piece, and then you add it so that it has more of a sauce-like consistency. Because you don't want completely opaque sauce because that's not real, you know? So you just kind of mix it. Now, I've just rolled this out. See how thin it is? See? You want it to be this thin, or even thinner if you can, but the only way to make it any thinner than this is to just kind of pinch it. Just pull it and pinch it. And it's okay if you get some holes in it, because you can layer so that it has that nice chunky sauce texture. See? Now it's even thinner. You want it to come off like you want it to look like it's the texture of sauce. I can't stress this enough. You want it to seem like it could be liquid. So that means that it's just this thin, as thin as you can get it. Okay? Okay. Now, next step. You ready? Now, as you can see, this is quite a lot smaller. I ripped it off. This is for later if you need it. But for now, you have this. It's this nice layer of sauce. Here's your pizza. Ooh, that's off camera. Here's your pizza. Sauce, pizza. Pizza, sauce. You ready for this? Okay, I knew you were. So you want one of these tools with a little nub on top. It tapers and there's a little nub. And I'm not sure what it's called, but you can get them in any craft store. And they usually come in packs of 3s. This is the smallest one. I don't really use the big ones for anything because I've got my fingertips. So you will take this and you'll just kind of pat stuff down. So now that you have your crust all textured and your sauce all blended nice, it's time to add your cheese. It really depends on what kind of look you're going for, but I like to go for the melted cheese look, and melted mozzarella calls for translucent clay. Just as a side note, translucent appears on the video to be about the same as white, but the package will tell you if it's translucent, and you can kind of tell because it's more off-white, and once it bakes, you know for sure because it bakes kind of, well, translucent. So what you do is you do sort of the same thing as you do with the sauce, but don't bother using the rolling pin because you're just going to make like really uneven ripped pieces like this. You want it to be as thin as possible, and you just kind of drape it and drag it across the surface of your pizza because you still want your sauce texture to show. Because you want it to look like a pizza, but you also want all the layers of your work to show. Now that you have your cheese all in order, it's time for some toppings. I'm going to do some green pepper slices, but you can really add whatever you want, but this is probably the best to start with. Watch carefully. You take some of your sauce clay, some of this brown clay, and then a little bit more translucent. And you take about that much, and you kind of mix them all together until they're completely blended, because now you're making pepperoni. So, now we're on to the step that's for pepperoni. I started adding some pepperoni, and what I did was I had a little cylinder. It started out a lot longer than this, but basically what you need to do is make what looks proportionate to the size of the pizza as a pepperoni roll. So you roll out a little cylinder of your kind of brownish red clay, and generally I would suggest using an X-Acto knife or just a straight razor, but I don't have one with me, so if you're like me and you just want to do this without the proper tools, you can do it the more difficult way by just kind of doing a ball, flattening it out with your fingers, and just, kind of dabbing it with this so that it's flattened. Because you want to make it like as round and thin and flattened as you can. So however you choose to go about that, just make sure that it looks sliced. Making the olives is probably the easiest part of this project. What you do is you take a piece of black clay, just a really small piece, like no bigger than the head of a pin, and you just break off even smaller pieces, like that. And this is just, the smaller pieces will be a little bigger than poppy seeds, because, well, olives are already really small, so to make it proportionate, they have to be really, really small. So what you're going to do is you're going to just put them on the pizza really gently. steps that you have to do for the pizza before you bake it. And I'm going to put it in the oven now. I have a specialized clay oven, specifically for Sculpey, and it's a really good idea to have because the fumes from the Sculpey are really not safe to have circulating in your oven if you use it for food. So it's only $50. I think if you're serious about getting into Sculpey projects, it's worth the investment. You can probably find some on eBay or just cheap on maybe Craigslist or something, but it's definitely a good idea. It's a lot safer and you don't run the risk of burning your clay. So that said, I'm going to put this in the oven, and the timer for that they suggest for Sculpey projects is about 20 minutes, but you know, since I'm going to bake it and these are really thin, I'm just going to leave them in for maybe 10, because it's better to undercook than overcook, I always say, because if they're not done enough then you can always do them more. But yeah, these are the other little pizzas that I've made, and as you can see, well, I don't know if you can, but they have holes in them. Well, except for the one that I just made for this demonstration. They all have holes in them because I'm going to sell them at a bead shop. And it's a really cool idea, I think. And I don't think anyone else will be selling these. So I will update on how that goes. I'm going to put this in the oven, and I will return in maybe 15 minutes. Stay tuned for part 2 where I show you how to paint. Thanks for watching!